it's just about honing your craft, just imparting a sense of you and what makes you tick and what's important to you in the world.
Tonight I'm going to be chatting to Alex Wilks, the youngest judge on the panel of the Making Waves Film Festival here in Portsmouth. Now he's last year's winner of the regional title, and he's keen to discover and encourage filmmaking talent who maybe haven't made the step into actually entering a film festival before, which really isn't as scary as it might seem. Now entries close for the festival on the 31st of January, so you've still got a little bit of time to commit your idea to film and maybe impress Alex.
So Alex, you're a judge this year in the competition, and you entered and you won last year. Tell me a little bit about your experience of the festival.
The festival was, well, I'd submitted my film Parrot last year to a number of festivals, all of which had transitioned into being online only for obvious reasons. And I'll be honest, I hadn't had the best time with those festivals, because it seemed as though, once I'd submitted my film, it had kind of disappeared into the ether. Sometimes I'd receive a sporadic email, but that was kind of it. And I would say the majority of them, I wasn't even aware when the online festival was taking place. And so the opportunity to network and kind of celebrate my film being aired, I suppose, aired is the best way to describe it, didn't really come about. But Making Waves, it was a completely different experience. Roy and the Making Waves team were in contact with me pretty much from the start. And by far and away, I think I had the most correspondence with Making Waves than any other film festival. And Parrot, I'm happy to say, got into around 20, so a decent amount. And I was kind of briefed as to what was happening through all stages of my submission. And about, I would say, 3 weeks prior, probably, maybe a little further beforehand to the actual screening, Roy very kindly got in touch with me personally to tell me the great news that Parrot had both been selected, but was one of the 3 local films to be selected, and was thus in for a good chance of winning the award. To my eternal shame, I was out the night that the festival actually took place. I was with family, so I missed winning the first award of my career. But from what I gather, it was a very well attended festival. And what was apparent to me from the outset, and with all the correspondences beforehand and afterwards, is that it was a festival for the filmmaker. It was all about facilitating networking and about growing the confidence of filmmakers, both here domestically in South UK, Hampshire, Portsmouth, Southampton, but internationally as well. It's really made an impression on me, and I'm so glad that I'm getting to be part of kind of this next wave of events.
I mean, that's a really interesting point, that for anybody who's new coming to this, I mean, I mix with people who have always, everybody says they got a film in them, and they wanted to make films, but there is a big step in actually making that step to actually put something in to be judged. I mean, how was this your first festival that you put your film into, or did you have much experience beforehand? And you said that you'd done a few smaller ones.
Yeah, I'd made a short film when I was a student, and I kind of submitted that to, I didn't have much faith in that film, but I'd actually gone on to Film Freeway and I'd submitted it to a number of festivals, and I got some nice words said, but not much success through that. But with Parrot, I had actually targeted, I would say, between anywhere from 30 to 50 film festivals, of which Making Waves was one, which I realized my film was probably well suited for, being a lockdown film. So I didn't really come at it with any sense of trepidation, because the thing is, I believed in that film. I really believed in Parrot because I knew it had come from a good place, and I wanted people to see it, not to kind of big myself up, but because I liked its message, because it had really worked on me, and I was just proud of it. So yeah, there weren't really any mental barriers between me actually submitting the film. The hardest part of filmmaking, as I'm sure everyone will agree, is putting pen to paper for the first time. So after that, after having gone through the whole rigmarole of making a film, which is kind of a miracle in itself, actually, sitting down and, clicking a few buttons and maybe throwing a 10 at a film festival's way, that was the easy part.
Tell me a little bit about the actual production process, because as I say, there's probably some people who think they have a film in them, which a lot of people do. And it's, I mean, my experience of TV and video is that it's actually simpler than you think. There's a few little tricks you need to learn almost. And one of them is, as you say, just doing it. And my theory with producing stuff is that if you produce anything, you're a producer. You've just got to produce enough stuff and you start to get good at it. Tell me, for anybody who's watching this and thinking, well, I'd quite like to enter, tell me about the production process, your production process on the particular film that you won with. And maybe, I don't know if we can include a link in this somewhere where they can actually watch the film that you made.
Well, yeah, Parrot, as my film was called, had quite an idiosyncratic production process because it was made during lockdown. It was all filmed in my girlfriend's living room on my DSLR. And that film, from the gestation of that film, came out of frustration, not just in, our shared dilemma of what the heck do we do, stuck in basically a cell for several months, but also of seeing my peers, my friends, my colleagues complaining that they felt stifled. And I guess I'm talking a bit about the inspiration before I'll talk about the production process. I was just lying down one evening. I mean, to be fair, I spent most of those months lying down. I think we all did. But I was just staring at the ceiling and I was imagining all these kind of phone calls and transmissions and messages just whizzing above my head. And I thought, there's a whole lot of sentiment going on up there. And I don't know if you could call it aggressive meditation, but I just thought of this concept of someone just in limbo, just stuck, reaching out, kind of in desperation to an ex-partner. And I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it for maybe 2 weeks solidly. And I didn't touch a pen, nothing like that, because I knew it was half formed, it was half baked, it was just strands. But then when I did finally sit down at my dining table and go for it, the whole thing came out of me in an hour, absolutely everything. I redrafted it once, maybe twice in the next day, and that was it for the script. I had a couple of good friends I'd worked with, one at film school, one before at Parrot University, Jürgen Rudzaug and Emily Taylor. And I reached out to them and said, hey guys, I've got a script. Want to do something? I know you've got the time. They had the time. And the whole thing, they never met each other. They never saw each other's faces. They recorded it over a Facebook call, similar to what we're doing now. And I was just lying on the floor listening to these guys going at it. And they were doing the whole thing, the whole script in a single take, no cuts. Did it several times. And that was it. I then filmed a bunch of stuff on my DSLR from, as I say, my girlfriend's living room, which I felt reflected the inner state of their mind and the kind of stasis that we were all feeling. Spliced it all together in Adobe Premiere Pro. No music, it was very simple for me. And then, yeah, I had a film, submitted it, here we are. And the whole process from beginning to end was uncharacteristically pleasant. It really was, because these things, making films, can really be trying at times. But no, Alan, it just felt so great to have actually done something worthwhile in that time, and to have done it with such inspiring people, and to listen to their craft and their passion just seeming to come from nowhere through my headphones. Yeah, it was wonderful. That's a very long spiel, but I really had a great time making that film. I really did.
That's fascinating. I mean, because you look at things like, I mean, I suspect people often think that you need lots of specialist equipment in order to do this sort of thing. I mean, in terms of audio and mics and things, how did that work with you?
Um, I'll be honest, it was all captured through their laptop speakers. I believe one or two of them, they may have tried with a mic they dredged up at home, but they're actors, you know, they're not audio technicians, they don't have booms or mics or whatever. And I was particularly bloody minded. I just thought, stuff it, basically, you know, all those things that can make you procrastinate and think, oh, my kit's not good enough, it's not up to scratch. I thought, enough. People can understand what they're saying. That's all they need. If there's sentiment coming through my laptop speakers, it's fine. And it was fine.
Which is great, which I guess was my point, that the kit shouldn't be a barrier. I mean, blimey, when I first started 35 years ago, a camera cost the price of a small farm in Wales. And now anybody can go out and buy a fantastic broadcast quality kit, and there's almost no excuse.
There is no excuse.
Yeah, and you edited it on Premiere, you say?
Yeah, I edited it on Premiere Pro and I did it on a DSLR, a Canon 60D, if anyone's wondering, which nowadays you can go down to, I don't know, CEX, some secondhand, whatever, probably pick it up for 180 quid. It's nothing. It's nothing. It doesn't need 4K, any of that stuff. It's all your story, and people's stories, they don't care what you shoot them on. They really don't. And especially when you're getting started, it's not about that, is it? It's not about, you know, how many pixels you have on the screen or your color depth or your bit rate or any of these things. It's just about honing your craft and actually just imparting a sense of you and what makes you tick and what's important to you in the world, getting that across on the screen. You don't need a bunch of zeros in your bank account to do that. You don't need any flash kit. You just need to really care about what you're doing and have like-minded people with you along the way.
And I guess as a judge, that's what you're looking for, which is some kind of authenticity, and in the actual sort of piece itself.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, to be honest, what I'm really hoping to see as a judge for Making Waves is I'm hoping to see films where I'm watching a film where it feels like the director had no other choice to make this film, as though they had to excise this piece of themselves like it was a splinter that they just had to pull out, because that's what Parrot was to me. You know, it wasn't particularly about anything in my life that I can point to, but all I knew is that I had to get it out. And I think the best stories are born out of a kind of a sense of, I wouldn't maybe say desperation, because I feel that's, you know, that's over dramatizing it a little bit. But it's a need, you know, it's a deep and persistent need to make a film. And I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said authenticity, because there's a lot of people who fall in love with filmmaking kind of for the romance associated with it. I'd like to see films made by people who are making films because it's their medium. It's what works for them. It's the only way in which they can conceptualize these stories, which they live and they dream about day to day. So I'm very excited to see what's out there.
Cool. We've been talking obviously about people sort of new and trying to break into the industry, but the actual festival itself will have a lot more experienced filmmakers in there as well. So in terms of learning from them, I guess that's a great thing to be involved in. But there's also, we were talking before we started a little bit about networking opportunities. Tell me what's come out of you actually taking the leap and becoming a filmmaker that enters film festivals.
Yeah, well, because of when I entered my film into film festivals, I didn't actually get the chance to attend very many as a result. And a lot of those that did, bless them, they tried with this whole Zoom online film festival thing. A lot of the time it didn't quite work out, if I'm being honest. But I did get the chance to attend a few in person, actually, toward the tail end. And oh my goodness, they were so invigorating. They were fantastic, because, you know, you were talking to people who've been on the same journey that you had, who were there attending because they'd had the same experiences that you had. And as a result, you know, I've got people's details. You know, I have a network now. You know, I know people that live in live in London, live in the Midlands, live in Wales, who just kind of have an unconditional respect for you and what you're doing. And that's amazing. It's incredibly affirming. And also simply, you know that because they're on the same path as you, as just wanting to create content that resonates with them, but also, you know, resonates with the outside world, that you're finding allies here who are going to kind of help you up. There's also in networking, it helps broaden your sense of what you're trying to achieve, I would say, because there's something different when you watch films in a film festival than when you watch things kind of half cynically behind a laptop screen at home, because you're feeling the sensation of these people who are kind of undergoing that trepidation of seeing their own film on the screen, but anonymously, and knowing that they're kind of risking it all. And there's this kind of upswell of compassion and unconditional support for every single person who's putting their work up there. And that's great, actually, because it takes away this hard, cynical edge that can be associated with this industry and turns it into something a lot more pure and a lot more wholesome and more worthy, I'd say. So, you know, applying to film festivals, being to festivals, speaking, networking with, I can now call them my peers, has completely reinvigorated me. And, you know, it's making me want to make a film, you know, every moment.
It's one of those, I mean, I speak from similar experience. Just anybody who's thinking of getting in, once the bug gets you, that's it, you're gone. You've got, and the other thing I will say just about networking, if anybody's watching this thinking networking, oh my God, I hate networking, I hate standing there having to meet people and shake the hands of strangers. It's not like that. It's basically, it's about going along, and because there's a common goal, it's about being supported. And as you say, it's very much about learning from other people's work. And when you're fascinated by it, it's not a worky networking, which is kind of what I'm getting at there. And there will be some networking opportunities for anybody who does actually come along to the festival. I guess either as a viewer, but also as somebody, as a filmmaker, and that's going to be around the 20th of April. The details are going to be on the website for Making Waves. But Alex, thanks ever so much for your time. Best of luck with your judging. Yeah, I guess we'll be seeing you nearer the time. So thanks ever so much. You take care.
Thanks, Alan.